All right, next up we have Zaid Hanna. Zaid is the data guy, also known as. Zaid is service-minded and customer-oriented real estate professional who focuses his energy on revitalizing the Bay Area's real estate industry since 2004. Hey, that's the same year as me. In 2014, he decided to form the Hanna Group, a team of determined and like-minded real estate professionals with a desire to serve the Bay Area community. Through dedication, determination, and grit, Zaid used real estate to create financial stability, to grow a successful team, and to help his clients build their wealth. When 2008 financial crisis hit, Zaid, like many others, had to rebuild. He refused to accept defeat, and he continued working on the real estate market through the most challenging housing crisis that the U.S. has ever experienced. Remaining resilient, he chose to use the housing crisis as an opportunity for growth. Zaid dedicated his time to understanding the intricacies of the housing crisis, of the housing market, so that he could provide data-backed advice to home buyers and sellers while pushing past the challenges in his pursuit for success. And as a result, he not only found success and he recovered from the financial crisis, but he also built a thriving real estate team and is recognized as the data guy by his community. So he works full-time both as a team leader and a devoted father of two. Zaid prioritizes his relationships the most. He's devoted to the people in his life, but what led him to create real estate team with unparalleled customer care. And when he sees problems, he turns them into opportunities for resolution and growth. A very skilled negotiator, a discerning businessman, Zaid uses his unmatched market knowledge, industry experience, and integrity to guide his buyers and sellers through every step of the process. Welcome, Zaid. So we've got the three of you for the remaining of the hour, and I wanted to kick it off and start with some questions. What do you say?
Sounds
great. All right, so I want this to be also open-ended. So we've got our Q&A session. There's a Q&A link on the bottom. I've got a series of questions that I'd like to throw at you, but I think that our audience may also have some questions, and so I'll be moderating and looking at the Q&A chat board as we go. In case some good questions come in, I might throw those at you as well. So today's topic is keeping it real. And the idea is how are we adapting our business? And when we come across these changing times like this pandemic hit and we're in shelter in place and everybody has to stay home and we've got to retool and revamp, it's all about how have you guys maintained success through that time? So my first question, and I'll start with Lynette and Craig, tell us about what actions you took in your business immediately after the shelter in place happened. Were there things that you cut back on or doubled down on? What did you do when this happened in order to keep your business going full strong ahead?
I think that for me, it was contact. At that point, I really reached out to people that in my sphere and that I'm dealing with and explained what we're dealing with on our end. It's so fluid and moving all the time. I think the education or what I had to provide to these people, my clients, I think made them feel more comfortable. And I think that's going to help with the long haul for business as well. So.
I think the other thing was just helping people stay calm, right? None of us ever experienced this. None of us knew what was coming. None of us really knew or were prepared to handle it. So trying to help people stay calm versus panicking, telling them that we would figure this out day by day, step by step. And just keeping, the communication open was really helpful with the people we were working with.
Good stuff. All right, Zaid, tell us what did you do? How did you change it up?
So the mindset was you either headed into a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. You're in one of those three. So typically, within a team, we had to identify, okay, what did we need to do to, one, motivate the team, keep the staff safe, and also looking at it from a business perspective to say, okay, how do we continue for the next 30 to 60 days? We were told 30, then it was 60, and we were essentially halfway through. So obviously you couldn't do the face-to-face, so we went to technology. We depended on technology more. Doing this, we've adapted Google G Suite 4 years ago. So we were doing the video conferencing, we just kind of did more of it this time. So when we look at the production team versus the back office staff, I sent everybody home because we didn't know how bad this was, how bad it was going to spread. So we stepped back and we said, okay, what things can we put in place to keep everybody safe, but yet continue with our business? Because some clients needed to buy. They had to buy because they sold a property, or they have to sell because the trust says so, and so on and so forth. So we continue to call the client, not so much and say, let's go buy a house, but more, here's the data, here's what's really happening, here's what we anticipate, and we'll continue to update you as we go along. So we acted as just being there, right? Being human, because they were freaking out. Everybody was freaking out. Hell, I was freaking out the first couple of weeks. So we kind of, put the blinders on and we said, what does it take to actually go get this done? And we focused more technology and being a source of information to give out to the client.
Yep, I think that resonates with both of you, being that source of information and that go-to person. That's great. So with that, what changed? Sorry, what is different as a result of this pandemic now? What do you think is going to be here forever as far as some of the changes? And is there anything that you missed about these new changes? And we can go to Zaid and then we'll go to Lynette and Craig.
I miss seeing people. I'm a people's person. So if Craig, or whenever he sees me, it's a big hug. Have you ever hugged Craig before? It's a big hug. Well, you can't do that anymore. So it's hot air fives and doing a lot of this. So that's kind of missed. I got to tell you though, it's becoming a lot more efficient. We were relying on the client to get off work to come and meet them at the office for the consultation. My rule is I am not showing you a home if I'm not doing a presentation, or if I'm doing it just to get to know each other, but we have to meet. That's the company rule we have here. So now we're doing it more via Google Hangouts. That's the software we use. So now we started to see that we're doing it at 1, at 2, at 3, at 4, where they were at work. Now they're actually, taking that hour and meeting with us. So we're becoming more efficient at having these appointments, and it's a lot easier in converting the client to actually meet with us face to face. So I think technology was introduced a while back. You had the early adapters, and now I think the late adapters are going to adapt it. Some of the more I'm stuck in my own ways and I want my offers to be faxed, that's going to change moving forward versus what the technology is bringing. I think streamline of offers coming in, the video virtual open house, right? So I got to see how that's going to catch. But, having more of a standardization of quality of marketing the property, no longer using this and expecting the house to sell, because you kind of don't have that open house for you to attract the consumer. The consumer is going to judge the home before going into it. So I think the consumer is going to get a lot more sophisticated and watching how this is going to be moving and demanding more technology from the agents.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the biggest things that I miss is community, just being, like Zaid said, being with the people, interacting with all of the great groups that we have, seeing those people face to face. Zoom is amazing. I'm so thankful for all of the platforms we have, but it just doesn't replace that personal interaction. It's different. Your body language is different. Just the personal touch and the friendships that you make with that. That being said, I think that, again, like Zaid said, maybe there is more time that we can structure now because people are working from home, at least for now, that maybe we don't have to do the evenings and we can have a more set schedule that's still flexible, that meets the client's needs. But maybe the clients also have a bit more time now to also do that because they're working from home. They're not commuting in. They don't have, those times that they're tied to their job because they wake up and they're at their job. So I think it's just a matter of seeing how this plays out. I know that big business has tried this before and they've let people work from home. Eventually they pulled them back into the office. I think for quite a while, we'll still see them working from home. But going forward, it'll be interesting to see how that transitions.
Yeah, same thing for me. I feel like that the relationship-based business that this is going to continue to be. It's just on a different platform and a different level. I've joked because I've never been on a Zoom call before all this happened, and then all of a sudden I was on 4 a day, 5 a day, and learning how to do Zoom and teaching my clients how to Zoom and all. It's just I'm getting pretty decent at it. So I think that we'll see. Again, I go back to the fact that things are changing rapidly, even at this point, and so it's who can adapt and how can you adapt.
Yeah, definitely. So more efficiency for sure, but we're also missing that human interaction. And so I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to giving all of you a hug next time I see you. So talk to me a little bit about the types of buyers and sellers that are out there right now. What kinds of trends are you seeing with them? What's motivating the people to sell right now? And what are the types of buyers that you're seeing? Are they move-up buyers? Are they relocating out? First-time home buyers? What do you think? Let's start with Lynette and Craig this time.
I think that we all have different levels of teams, at least on this panel here. And ours is a smaller team that we're working with. I think I'm answering questions from clients, and people are trying to prep their life for what's coming and what's happening. A lot of people not being at work, having kids at home, needing multiple spaces, all that stuff, and adapting to where we are now. I think that, again, it's very hard to pinpoint, but the questions that I'm getting are wrapped around needing some more space, wanting some more elbow room. Some of my clients that I put into condos back in the day, I don't want to be in a condo any longer. I want to find something else. So that's some of the questions that I'm in.
And I think we're finding, in our business at least, we have a balance. We have a balance of sellers. We have some of those sellers are move up. Some of them they had already planned to relocate. And this was just a stall, until we could figure out what was going to happen with the showings of occupied homes. And now that we're kind of reopening, they're feeling comfortable. They need to be able to go somewhere to, find their new home. They couldn't go look at them there, and they couldn't imagine buying them virtually. So, and we're still getting reload clients coming in, which is again, just a sign. We're in a very unique place. Our Bay Area is not like most. And so I think that, again, we had a little bit of interruption, but it really was just a bit, and I feel that we're strong.
Good. What do you say, Zaid?
My turn. So there was this, being the data guy, I'll go back to numbers, slow me down if I need to go over it again, but from big cities, search has increased by 70% of people are actually looking for suburbs, more rural areas, to say, hey, I do not want to live like this anymore. In fact, my job told me, Twitter or other companies, you can indefinitely work from home. So that's kind of changing the concept to a lot of our buyers. And what we're seeing right now, anybody that we've had January, February, March, and then there was a drop off in lead count in April and in May. So all the new buyers are kind of looking at it and saying, I want to get more information. Where are we headed? The desire is there, but they're proceeding with caution. So we have to show up, giving them a lot of this information that Dave talked about, but still there's that, are you trying to sell us a house? So I think the people that are moving right now are the folks that have been in the market, just haven't identified a property. They are more specific of what they want. So the new leads that we're getting, and when I say new leads, we're talking about somebody that's been in our ecosystem in the past 2 to 4 weeks versus somebody that's been in the ecosystem for the past 6 months. So the past 6 months are transacting a lot faster because I've seen this go up and come down, and they're seeing it back up again because we did educate them. So there's that trust that goes into it before they say, okay, write me up. Let's go after that house. So when we look at where are they going, we're actually getting more and more people going to Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon. They're saying I can get a better house, cheaper, with better schools than staying in San Jose. But I think that wave too shall pass because we've seen it 3 times in the past 10 years. It was hot and then they cool off and they come back to San Jose again because the prices kind of level off. But we're seeing a lot of activity of people that have been in our ecosystem longer.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think that supports what Dave Walsh presented earlier about South County being on fire and the sales really increasing down in South County. South County tends to be a little bit more rural down there, so that would make sense. As people come out of this, they realize, hey, maybe I want a little more space. Let's go look in South County and see what's out there. So, yep, that definitely makes sense. Let's talk about some of the new guidelines that we're dealing with from OSHA and from SCCAOR and from the county health department. And they have the sanitation guidelines. So talk to me a little bit about how are you able to deal with the sanitation requirements when you have a lot of listings?
Gosh, I'm telling my sellers, can you leave? You have family members that you can go and stay with. That is the best option for an owner-occupied seller. Vacant properties, it's music to my ears whenever I get that call. But of course, leaving those signs on the door, getting the stagers in there after it's cleaned up, doing, I call them welfare checks, but we go and check on the property to make sure it's clean, the booties are not everywhere, wiping off some of the counters and so on and so forth. So in some cases, we're running out of this, the hand sanitizer or the gloves, so the question is, I have 6 listings. Do I leave it at the open houses or do I give it to my staff? So we're just kind of making that decision to say, hey, the buyer's agents can do their own due diligence and we'll just kind of protect ourselves and our clients. So we're just kind of going through every listing is different. If it's vacant, obviously it's a lot easier.
And I agree with Zaid. Vacant listings are so much easier when we've had occupied listings, especially, things are still selling like Dave said. So for instance, a few weeks ago, I put 2 properties on a Thursday, started immediately getting phone calls, and one of them had 20 showings in 2.5 days. And that was a family of 4 with a dog. And, you're not only trying to make sure that you have a time slot every hour so people aren't overlapping, but you're getting the form. You don't want to give them access information until you have the form, because unfortunately not everybody follows the rules. And then making sure that the properties, wiped down in between those times. It's not easy, and it's especially not easy for the families, because as much as they say they can handle it, and as much as I think we try to describe what it's going to be like, there was also nowhere for them to go. Now that we're opening up again, that might get a little bit easier, but vacant homes and just making sure that you don't leave stuff. At this point, even flyers, everything's virtual, at least on the temporary, so that you don't have stuff laying all over the place.
Right. I guess we all can do the best that we can given the circumstances, right?
Yep.
I think it's a team effort for sure. I think that the buyer's agents also need to help out with the wiping down as they go, in order to also, help facilitate cleanliness and sanitation, as well as the listing agents. Whenever you have a chance to go out there, wipe everything down. Because let's face it, as a listing agent, it's very difficult to show up behind every single showing and wipe the entire house down. It's just not feasible. So, we do what we can. It's also very difficult, I know, to supply PPE at every listing. I don't know about you, but I've had sellers ask if I can stock face masks and sanitizers and all these things at the listings. And I said, well, if I could actually buy it, I'd be happy to do that. But there's like a 30-day wait list on Amazon. So, it can definitely be a challenge when you have a responsibility to take certain measures, but yet you have trouble sometimes even finding the supplies that you need. So the good news is that SCCAOR now has some PPE supplies that we sell at our store for people who need it. So definitely look into that if you are short on PPE supplies. But I know for a while that was a bit of a challenge for many people. Now, Lynette, you mentioned virtual open house a while ago. So let's talk about the virtual open house here for a minute. First question is, are you doing virtual open houses? And if you are, what has been your experience? Are you actually seeing buyers showing up for these virtual open houses? Or is it just agents, or are you kind of just hanging out there all by yourself?
So we've tried. We've only had one that we've tried, and it was in a vacant home. And you know, we went through, posted on the MLS, which is wonderful. The link is there. It was truly a bust. I'm thinking that we will, as this progresses, depending on how things happen, that maybe we'll find better avenues and better ways in order to make them successful. And we're trying to gather that information too, because I think it's useful. Ultimately, the best way is to get people in the house. So if that's something that we can eventually get back to, I think it's best for values, it's best for sales. But right now we're doing what we can to try to figure it out and maneuver through it.
I think we could get senses through the video where you can touch and feel and smell those flowers through Zoom. It'd be a hell of a lot better, but we haven't figured that out yet.
Come on, Zaid.
So Zaid, are you guys doing any virtual open houses on your team?
It's not successful.
So it's more bust than boom.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Okay, well that's good. But as far as virtual meetings go, as far as meeting with clients, what we're hearing is the efficiency gains there are phenomenal. So talk to me about your Zoom conferencing with your clients. Are you taking a more casual approach to that, or are you giving formal presentations and you've got a fancy background? Talk to us about how do you conduct that, let's say, interview process on Zoom? Are you keeping it casual, or are you kind of going through something formal? Start with you, Zaid.
Go ahead, Zaid. Yeah.
So I like to be real. Typically, whenever I see a screen in the background, my question is, where are you? Are you prepared for this call, and so on and so forth? So for me, I always like to show the background, so it's always clean, whether it be my office, I'm in the office now, or my home office, that's it's nicely clean, away from the kids. You can't hear anything. So the goal is to keep the distraction to very low and also keep the background very clean. Now, I like to present slides just like Dave did, and it's multiple pieces. We go over, for example, the MLS search or the comps with the sellers. I like to share my screen, so we do that as well. So we present everything we presented in the past, like Lynette said. So we're not printing, here's the flyer to the house, here's the digital everything. Let me show you, and then I'll get to email it to you after we're done with the conversation.
It depends on your audience. Not everybody is going to feel comfortable or capable with, doing it this way. So I always ask the question up front, what are you comfortable with? I'm prepared to social distance, have your mask, have your gloves, have all of those things, which I feel closed off. But if they're more comfortable with that, but if they're technology driven, which so many are, then we can go ahead and do Zoom and still do the same thing. So I think it's the same interaction you would have with anybody on a given day. What do you prefer for your interaction? And starting there to get their comfort level.
So let me ask you, since we're on this topic of working from home and Zooming, having Zoom client calls. So we've been at it for a while now, for a couple of months. Now, a lot of realtors didn't have a home office set up, but they would go into the office and work from their office, their physical office. Now, what advice do you have to those folks who are trying to, figure out how to work remote when they have all these distractions, dogs barking and kids running around and maybe a messy house in the background and not a good setup? What kind of advice do you have to those individuals?
Schedule the timing, correctly, I guess I would say, because some people don't have a large home, they have a one bedroom, whatever it may be, and I schedule the time that works in your schedule. For me, it's a little easier. I have a bedroom upstairs and one downstairs, and I don't have children at home, so it's a little easier for me. The distractions are a bit less.
Like I said, working around their schedule, they're already under enough stress, and then they're trying to talk about buying or selling. So figuring out again what their timeline, what's the best, working around that. And ultimately, a lot of times the reason they want to talk is they want to get out of their small space. So, you know, to move to something bigger.
I think, Sandy, most of the offices are open now, so you can actually go in the office if you really need to have that appointment. So that's one. Two, you could use your car. You can step outside, have the meeting in the car, just make sure your car is clean. Obviously, if you don't have the room in the home, you can go in the backyard. So there are so many ways you can actually hold it. Go down the street to a park. You know, nobody's supposed to be in the parks anyway. So there's, make sure you get Wi-Fi. Don't let that stop you to get in front of the client. So there, and if you have kids in the home and you have a barking dog and that parrot won't shut up, right? Just apologize up front and say, I am so sorry. My family's so loud. So here I am. I'm committed to this appointment and I'm going to make it right now. So that shouldn't really stop you from actually having the appointment, but usually cars are really fun.
Great, great. So let's talk a little bit about your businesses right now. How big is your team? How do you leverage people on your team to get things done? And what are you doing to keep the team motivated at times like this?
Again, team size is different than what you're dealing with. We're just getting started. We haven't been together that long. We're building in that direction, or we're planning to. As far as delegating work, it's become difficult in the beginning. We didn't have a structure to exactly how many meetings we were going to have in a week. I know, you know, you guys sit everybody down and talk it through, but you know, we have a couple younger people with us that need direction, and I need to do a better job at making sure they're getting direction. So it's been a little challenging in the beginning, but we're making some strides to make some changes.
I think we're all learning through this, right? We're learning where the strengths are. We're learning more of our strengths and more of our weaknesses. And just being able to be real and understand that people have all this stuff going on outside of, you know, our jobs, appreciating that, but yet trying to keep us all moving forward, so that we can, you know, continue on with the great market that we're in.
What about you, Zaid?
So I have a team of 12, including myself, 5 office staff and 6 sales team. So the two are served completely differently. The office is more, how can we keep it clean? How can we keep our distance? Because they're coming in the office now. They were working from home, I sent them the computers, but now they're back working from the office. So it's more caring for them and having the environment in the office to be safe and clean, and they could see each other so the energy gets going, versus being at home where, you know, the dog and the parrot and their mother's yelling at them, right? So now they're in the office, they're focused. In terms of the sales team, so they know this, and I always say it out loud, it's like herding cats. I'm big on DISC personality assessment. So most of my team are ISs. And if you know anything about Is, they're social butterflies. So guiding social butterflies is a challenge in itself, but how do you continue to motivate them when the times are hard? So I say the 6 inches between those ears is the toughest part. So we always focus on mindset, what's working, because I'm actually in production. So any issue that I see, I take it on Monday and I tell them, okay, the topic this week is X. Here's the script. Here's how I want you to role play, and this is what I want you to do. So the assignment is given to them, and they have to turn in a homework on Sunday night or Monday morning. So the accountability is also very, very high. So they see me do it, I'm in it, and we have to meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no exceptions. So the accountability is really, really high. So when we talk about the data, I try to pass on the data to them. So as Dave is passing it on to us, we do the same thing within the team to get them talking to everybody, doing everything that literally seeing an issue and guiding them through that may possibly affect their business, and kind of guiding them through that process. I don't know if I gave you too much, but that's kind of what we did.
No, I think that was great. Yeah, I think I can share that sentiment. Yeah, definitely trying to keep that team motivated and holding the accountability. And you know, at the end of the day, if if they're not stepping up to the opportunities that are right in front of them, then we can find, a few more people who are willing to out there, because there's definitely opportunities, and there's a lot of folks out there who would love to have them.
Amy,
So,
what's your team size? How many people do you have on your team?
so I have 10 agents and 5 assistants on my team. Yeah. And so, when we talk about opportunities, talk to me a little bit about, where do you find most of your opportunities? What are your best strategies? I know repeat referral business is always, at the top of the list, but aside from repeat and referral business, where do you get new business, like new random clients? How do they come to you? How are you marketing, and how are you attracting those individuals to you?
I think that what we're trying to do is not only, because both of us have always really independently just run from our sphere. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to do that, born and raised here. But what we're trying to not only do for ourselves and for our team, but to teach the newer people on our team, is that you have resources. You can go to Chicago Title. You can go to, our platforms that we have, and pull from those in order to get databases, in order to start farming. Obviously, this past few short months has been a little bit different. You're not going to go door knocking. You're not going to be dropping flyers. But there's other ways to reach out and still touch these people, to keep your market going, so that we can, there's plenty of people out there that just want to know what's going on. The Bay Area is rich in real estate, and that's one of their biggest investments. So people want to talk. You just have to find them.
All right, Zaid, what about you and your team? I know you have a lot going on. Tell us about some of your strategies.
So you said don't go into repeat business. That's about 55% of my business. It's repeat. I can go more in detail as to what that entails, but to focus on new business, all the social media accounts, all the Zillow account. I don't pay for Zillow. I'm not a premier agent, but the account is free for you. Go ahead and complete that, and actually claim all your past sales. Let the people find you. Right now, once a week, I publish market update videos, and it goes out to my database, it goes out to the social networking, we boost it. So trying to reach out more people, since we can't do this, we're doing it on a digital level. It is so much cheaper to do it. Now, is that going to bring a listing or a buyer right away? No, but over time, it will. So from a digital side, that has been successful. Obviously, partner up, no matter where you're at. You could reach out to agents that are outside your area as to see where the Bay Area people moving to, whether it's Austin or North Carolina or Sacramento, and partner up with some agents. They may actually send you some reports, right? So that's another source of business. But going back to what we've seen a lot, condo townhouse move up buyer seller. So 2 transactions, possibly 3 if you have a buyer for that listing from a lot of this move up, quite a bit of move up.
Okay, so you must have a fairly sizable database, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of marketing to that database. Would that be fair?
So without mentioning any title reps, I was given some data to say that my retention rate, when you come to my ecosystem, it's 94%. NAR says 70% of buyers and sellers don't even know they're realtors. In fact, a lot of them said, I'd rather go through a root canal. Mine is 94. So going back to that, actually go back to that right now. They need you more than ever. Then birthday cards with Starbucks, $5 Starbucks cards. They still can go to Starbucks. If you don't like Starbucks, go to Pete. If they don't like Pete, I don't care. Go Jamba Juice. I don't care where they go. If we send them anniversary kits. If you buy with me a year later, you're getting this house anniversary. We show up to the door, drop it off, say hello, and we leave. So just to get that, Lynette, that connection that we still need. Like humans need to see each other. We're going mad inside our houses. So we're pushing the team to say, hey, let's double down on what actually worked, because we need it more than ever. So that database is very important. We used to throw 2 to 4 sizable events for our clients. Obviously, we can't do that right now. So we're just focusing on gifting, delivering stuff to their house more than anything else.
So Zaid, I know you must have a pretty sophisticated system. I know you do. So talk to us a little bit about some of the unique things you're doing with your system, how you connect with your database of clients, and talk to us a little bit more about what you're doubling down on, and if there's anything that you've decided to just discontinue altogether.
So the system has been there for some time. We went cloud 4 years ago once the team was put together, because we figured very quickly that your broker will try to help you as much as they can with what they know about our industry in the past 30 years. As we're changing in this whole new team model, and people are adapting it more and more and more, it's becoming more sophisticated. So unfortunately, we have to go outside and hire coaches that have figured this out, agents that have figured this out, invested a ton of money into it, and then trying to roll it out. Again, implementation is the hardest part. I mean, we have so many ideas. So I would say if you're a new agent or agent that's trying to get back into it, you have this phone, and depending on your likability, if you don't have 100 contacts, you're probably in the wrong industry. So I don't mean to sound so cutthroat. By the way, if you're mine, I love you. Prager can vouch to that. But I always ask myself, how can I lead a team? What qualifies me to lead a team? So a leader always has to be tough. So, but when you fall, I'm going to pick you up. But you have to do these things. So I sit down with everyone. I think everyone should go back to their broker and say, here's my personality. Here's what I enjoy doing. What are the things that I need to implement? And pick 4, pick 3. You don't need 20. I'm at 20 today because it took me 15 years in the industry, and really the past 7 to 8 years to, again, hire consultants and coaches, and for me to implement one after the other, 5 staff to say, I don't touch marketing anymore. I record the video, she finalizes the video for me and posts it. I don't touch it anymore. So to get to that level, you have to put a lot of systems in place. And to give you specifics, download this and categorize them. The Buffini program, A, B, C, D. D is the lead, by the way. Get rid of some of these toxic people in your life. So that's, I would say, that's one of them. Be active in social media and give value. So I try during this call to give you as much value as I can. I don't know this 110 people that I see as participants. Hopefully I know some of you, but my goal is to give you as much value as possible by the time this call ends. Be that to your ecosystem, whatever that may be. Zoom, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, ClickClock, whatever you're into today, do it on all platforms. You recorded the video anyway, just do it. So do it with more care. Care for your community, go out there and do stuff, go feed the homeless, go build that little house community, go do all of that, right? It goes such ways that your people are watching, right? So that's be of value on social media, and of course talk about stats. My thing is I'm the data guy. You don't have to be the data guy. You could be the bird guy. You could be the dog guy. I don't care what you, just be something, be out there and give value. Pick a farm and continue to farm it. Don't go too big, no more than 200 to 300 until you get some returns so you can invest back into your business. And reach out to top producers and say, how can I help you? Because believe it or not, some of the top producers still don't want to work with buyers. They don't have a team, right? They may give you that buyer, give them 25% referral fee. And if all else fails, join a team. We figured it out. That's not a recruiting session. I just want
That's great. They'd love it. So you touched on coaching a little bit. Talk to us a little bit. Are you part of a coaching program? Are more than one? Which ones? Have you found them to be valuable to your business? Do you recommend it for other realtors? What do you have to say for coaching?
I will name some of these organizations because they have helped me. I start with Brian Buffini when I started early, and naturally I grew that because he didn't preach teams. Then I went to the core. The core, all they do is preach teams. They'll show you systems and checklists and everything you need to know on how to build a team. I grew that too. And then while I was at the core, I joined Tony Robbins because again, I had to work on the 6 inches here because now I'm successful. How do I balance home and work? Because I'm a workaholic. If you know me, I'll work 16-hour days. So I have 2 boys. 3 and a 5-year-old, and I'm really close to my family. My wife, she's actually my operations manager. Without her, I think the business will fall apart. So she's our glue here at the team. But going back to how do I balance that? So Ryan, Tony Robbins has helped, not necessarily him, but his organization. And right now I'm following Tom Ferry because he's big on technology, right? What's working right now? What can you do right now? It's Tom Ferry. So those are important.
So we probably only have time for a couple more questions here because we're actually at 2:30 now. So if you guys have a couple more minutes here, let's hit a couple more and then we'll wrap this up because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So you guys are very successful. And one of the things that realtors struggle with is a retirement plan or an exit strategy. Do you have an exit strategy, or are you going to be one of those realtors that works till your death and never retires? How are you going to someday gracefully exit and enjoy retirement life?
I'll start. I think that you know, my focus again, we've been talking about this team scenario, and we've talked about it now. We've known each other a long time, and if we can build, it doesn't need to be a massive team, but something that can handle the flow of business that we have, and we'd be able to step back a little bit. I've always focused on my own personal retirement accounts, and yes, if anybody's asking or wondering out there if that's where you're headed with this, and again, real estate wise, and the acquisition, owning properties and owning doors and managing those, that's kind of been my focus, knowing that Social Security and all that other stuff's not going to be there for me. So it's that's been my focus.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think that it's always having a you know, different pots that you're picking from, so not everything's in one. Looking forward again, wanting, you know, do you ever fully retire from real estate if you're really passionate about it? But definitely stepping back significantly and maybe having the team be able to pick that up. That's a portion of where the retirement comes from. And then your investments, still, you know, keeping in with your investment properties if you're able to also have that too, and manage those. So just having a, you know, again, a good, well-balanced portfolio, I think is super important.
Good insight. What about you, Zaid?
Make a lot of money and save it. Have fun, right? Work less hours so you can enjoy the money you're making. So, you know, if you want to go buy a plane, go get your license. But have the team around you so you could actually enjoy what you're doing so you can do it longer. Because once you start performing at a very high level, by the way, all you do all day is put out fires. I promise you that. Get to 15 to 20 units a month. All you do all day is put out fires. They're going to come at you. You're the rainmaker. So how do you systematically do that? You got to put an amazing team around you. Again, I have that. I love my team, but at the same time, you got to save. So when these hard times come, you can actually run your business without worrying. You can advise your clients whether they need to sell right now or not based on your commission, as Lynette referred to, but you got to care for the client. So you got to take care of yourself first, put on the mask first before you can put on their mask. So save. And stockpile your cash. Fun times to be in.
Save and stockpile the cash. All right, so one last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So if you're a starving agent and you don't have a lot of cash right now, let's say you've got $1,000 to your name, you need to make a living, you've got 30 days, no database. How do you build yourself up from there? What advice do you have for realtors? How do they get started on that? Say,
your cell phone again. You got to have 100 contacts in your phone. If you're young and you say my database is small, you'll be surprised they have parents. They may want to sell. So download your database, categorize them, call them. So I like to call my database between 3 to 6 months, depending on the database. So some of my agents, I get them to call every 3 months, and they show up with gifts and they connect with the database. So that's one. Again, pick a farm and farm it twice a month in the beginning until they get to see you and know you more. Unfortunately, you can't put your A-frames in the streets. But what can you do? Get on the social media, pick that specific farm, and then start talking Dave Walsh's data. Now you're becoming the area expert overnight. Talk about fake it until you make it. That's one way to do it. Again, reach out to top producers, ask them if they need help, see if they have a team first. Typically, top producers, when we don't give out anything, guys, we give it to our team. There's a reason why we don't give it out. So please don't hate us for any reason other than like we feed our people first. So, find someone that doesn't have a team that may be able to give you some business. And then again, if all else fails, find a team.
Great ideas. What about you, Lynette? Craig?
I just echo what Zaid just said. I mean, again, if you're not from here, I mean, everybody, again, you're out in the public eventually again, and we're out more. Everybody wants to talk about real estate. You have your card, you start talking, you're in line somewhere, you start talking. The Bay Area wants to talk about it, whether they're owning currently, whether they're gonna own, maybe they're just new here. You never know who you're gonna come across that all of a sudden that day, just because you said you're in real estate. So talk it up. If you are from here, then great, you've already got a base. You just start with your phone. You start with everybody in there, just letting them know. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then go back to, again, using your resources with your title company, getting farms, and start walking those and letting them see your face. It's great to have people out there doing it for you. But when you're new, that personal interaction is really going to go a long way.
Yeah, if it were a different marketplace, I'd say make sure you're pounding the open houses, taking everything you can, get in there, meeting people. But it's all about the engagement of it, right? Talking about real estate, just as you guys are all saying. I saw a quote the other day that said, "Successful sales agents learn how to ask better questions, and as a result, they get better results." So to me, I think, again, it goes back to what both of them just said, which is, become the expert, right? Talk about it. Talk about Dave's numbers. Talk about what Zaid, the data that he has. Learn something about somewhere and preach it.
Good stuff, guys. Well, that's right on. I think that relationships, being that data expert, and putting the time in to engage with people is going to be probably the number one thing that people can do. And Lynette and Craig, I want to thank you both for tuning in today and joining us. It was great having you. And Zaid, as always, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed talking with you. And I appreciate all of you today. And I really appreciate the honor to be able to lead this discussion today. And I want to thank all the attendees today for tuning in and giving us an hour. And I hope that this was informative for all of you. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that this was worthwhile and gave you some value add. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody for your participation, and God bless. I hope you guys all have a awesome weekend. And should any questions come up from anybody, don't hesitate to send them in, and we'll make sure to send them out to everybody. So again, have an awesome day.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye, Zaid.
Bye-bye.
See you, Zaid.
Bye, everybody.